Hello, and welcome to Canada as I see it. Hello, and welcome to the show. Today is November 17th, 2024, and I want to thank everyone for tuning into the podcast last week. It was live and unedited, and I did have a good time. It was a little nerve-wracking at times, but if you did miss it live, it is available for you to listen to. It's show number 55, and thanks again. I will be doing live shows again in the future, but logistics this week just prevented that. This week we're actually up north in a little town called Burnt River, and Caroline has one of the shows for her greeting cards that she produces. We're up there hopefully making a boatload of money that we can put toward our Disney cruise fund. Fingers crossed. Today, I'm going to talk about something I wrote about way back when, and it is the C.F.L. Now, the C.F.L. is kind of a unique thing in the professional sports world. It always seems as though it's trying to not be there. And you'd think, they only have 9 teams in it. You would think that would be an easy thing to talk about. But, put it this way. I took calculus in high school and didn't really do too well at it, and I would rather deal with that. At least there was logic to it. Now, the league as it exists today looks a lot like it did back in 1958, when it took the moniker of C.F.L, the Canadian Football League. The Toronto Argonauts are its eldest team at 151 years of age, and the Ottawa Redblacks are its youngest team at 10. Now, 10 and 151, everything that happened between those 2 points, that's where the fun is. There have been multiple attempts to keep a franchise in a city. I'm looking at you, Ottawa, Montreal. Ottawa has been home to 3 distinct teams over the last 148 years, starting with the Rough Riders in 1876, then the Renegades in 2002, and then the Red Blacks. Montreal's history is even more convoluted, being founded in 1946 and folding in 1981. The same group of players came back the following season as the Concords. That team lasted 5 years, actually renaming themselves the Alouettes in 1986, before folding in 1987. Well, at that point, the C.F.L. was desperate at the time. These teams were dropping left and right. They even added teams in the U.S. to try and broaden their appeal. One of the teams was called the Baltimore Stallions, which began play, had a winning record for 2 seasons, and even won the Grey Cup in 1995, being the only U.S.-based team to do so. And then they folded due to pressure by the creation of the Baltimore Ravens in the NFL. They simply wouldn't have been able to compete. The solution? The owner relocated the team to Montreal and renamed it, the Alouettes. So, what else? The league shifted Western-based teams into the East, while all of these team droppings were going, so as to even out the divisional distribution. And that's actually what happened to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, where they stayed for 8 seasons. Then they moved to the North Division during the great U.S. expansion experiment, and then they moved west again, and then the East for 4 more years, and then the West in 2002, then East in 2006, and then the West again in 2014. All to keep things even and fair, while other teams folded and then reintegrated. Oh, they were so accommodating. They did more traveling than any other team ever has, just by staying where they were. Now, Edmonton's team, they've never moved either, but they've been known as the Edmonton Eskimos, a team that was founded in 1949, and then the Elks, a name change that took place in 2021 due to pressure from sponsors and the fact that, well, the word Eskimo is pejorative and offensive. Another point, there were actually 2 teams in the C.F.L. that had very similar names. And, well, this was essentially due to the teams having history before the C.F.L. existed. Saskatchewan had the Rough Riders, one word, and Ottawa had the Rough Riders, 2 words. Funny that. Now, the one thing I've never been able to figure out, a team in any league of any sport usually has a location name and a nickname or identifier. The location name is usually a city, but in the C.F.L., the westernmost team is the BC Lions or the British Columbia Lions, a provincial name. And a couple of provinces over, we have the same thing. The Saskatchewan team is the Rough Riders, both named for the province. Never been able to figure out why that is, though. Oh, so let's see. We have BC, Toronto, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Montreal, Saskatchewan. Sounds like the Gilligan's Island theme. And we have the rest. For no particular reason, but there are 2 other teams that I haven't mentioned. We have the Calgary Stampeders, a proud team out in the West, and we have the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the East. And wow, when them and Toronto get together, that's a battle for sure. The C.F.L. at its base is similar to the version that is played in the U.S., but there are differences. The playing field is wider, 65 yards versus 53. The field is longer, 110 yards versus 100. Notice yards, not meters. There was actually discussion at one point to give the Canadian field 100 meters, but it stayed at yards. Each team has 12 players on the field, and C.F.L. teams only have 3 opportunities or downs to move the ball 10 yards to or score at a time, whereas the NFL teams have 4 downs. Again, our field is longer. You'd think that would be the other way around. Another neat point is where the field goal, the big either H or, thing at the end of the field, if you don't know football, that in the C.F.L., the field goal posts is situated right at the goal line. And in the NFL, I believe it's, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm off the top of my head here, I think it's like 11 yards or something like that. They're situated further back. I guess they did that so that players wouldn't run into it on the goal line. But anyway, the differences, all these differences make for what's considered to be a more offensively aggressive game with more passing and, well, less settling for pushing the ball down the field and getting only 1 or 2 yard gains. And with that, Canadian football, you see the scores sometimes. I'm surprised I haven't seen 3-digit scores in the CFL. Speaking of scores, well, I'll just leave this. Just try and explain what a rouge is to an American football fan. That's it. So, why all of this exposition? Today, November 17th, the championship game is between the Toronto Argonauts and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and that will be held in Vancouver, British Columbia. The victor between these two teams, one from the east and one from the... Hold on, checking my notes. Yeah, the Winnipeg's in the west this year. They will be awarded the Grey Cup, the trophy donated by Canada's 9th Governor General, Albert Henry George Grey, the 4th Earl Grey, not the T, the Earl Grey, in 1909. So actually, that probably should have been the first thing that I talked about. It's kind of like I went backward today. And in that spirit, I'd like to introduce you to my sister Janice, who will extraduce the podcast this week.
This podcast was produced by the Fireside Chat Club of Canada.
Thank you so much, Janice. And if you would like to contribute, like she just did, to the podcast, please send me a recording of you saying, "This podcast is produced by the Fireside Chat Club of Canada." And you can email that to me at asIseeit@warpole.ca. WHORPOLE.ca. And that address also goes for if you want to tell me where to go and how to get there. I'm sure there's plenty of you out there. Or if there's something you'd like to suggest, or if you just want to chat, that would be great. Same address, please. I look forward to hearing from you. Oh, so look at that. I actually did speak a bit longer this week. I tried to do this all live without cuts and such, but I'll admit I did make a couple of edits. But anyhow, we made it through, and I want to thank you all for listening this week. I will talk to you again next week. And that's a part of Canada as I see it. It is written and produced by me, James Warpole, and brought to life by the Fireside Chat Club of Canada. Our theme song is Night Owls by Braden Deal. If you have any questions or comments, please email me at asIseeit@warpole.ca. Join us every Sunday for another episode of Canada as I See It.